Hello, friends. Almost a year ago, I started my pond build. I've been wanting a pond in my backyard for many, many years, and I just never did quite find the right place to put it. So I decided here by the bamboo and the chicken coop that this was the place I was going to dig my pond. So, simple process, just to give you a recap, I just dug it out by hand, and I used that soil to make other planting beds, but I created the basic shape, and I went and got some flagstone rocks, and I'm just kind of laying them out to see if I have enough to do around the whole outside. I took a tamper and I pounded it in, leveled it out to make sure that we were in good shape so that the water would not just look goofy and all be sitting on one side and not on the other. And I tamped down the bottom and I made some little bit of a slope sides, a little shallower area, and then a deeper area to my left there, or to the video screen left. Then I got one of the plastic liners and put some rocks down, and then I began to fill it with water. And that took a little bit of a process to get all those wrinkles out, but it took a little while. And then I got some rocks, and I rinsed the rocks out. But there's so much dirt in these bags of rocks you get at the like Home Depot and places, and so the water was really, really murky as I was filling it up. But I figured it would clear over time, and as you'll see, it did. So the pond is basically taking shape and looking pretty good, and the water level looks pretty level. So there's looking good. I picked up a few supplies at the store. I'm just going to put in a bubbler system. So nothing fancy. I'm not putting a filtration system in this pond. The bubblers, I use two different types, and there they are. And as I got it all hooked up, it looks pretty good. The bubblers are working. And, that's where I use that cover just to keep that pump. It's not an exterior pump, so I needed to cover it because it was going to get water and then it was going to get snow in the winter. But it looked pretty good. And then I added some chlorine remover to the water. Then I went and got 15 fish, goldfish from the store, and put them in the water, probably too soon, but and also with a couple plants. I bought a few plants because I want the plants to soak up the fish waste, and I use this liquid fertilizer source for my garden. And I just took a skimmer and skimmed off some of the bigger particles in there, and I fed them a little bit of flake food, and they were doing good. And again, I started with 15, then I added 10 more, so I had 25 fish total going into the winter season. And I got some bark, and I just outlined the outside of the pond with bark just to keep the weeds down and make it look nice. And that was all it was. There we go. And just a little bit of gravel. I could add more, and I did get some other rocks and put them in some more decorative rocks, and my wife got in the desert. She wasn't too happy that I threw them in the pond, so I still have to dig those rocks out of the pond and give them back to her for some other use. But the pond turned out good. Again, no filtration, just the bubblers and the plants to help clean the water, and the water did clear up, and the fish were doing wonderfully. Again, they were just small goldfish, nothing fancy. And so if I lose a few, it's not a big deal. These are feeder goldfish that most people use for, again, feed other fish, or other animals. So not a big loss if I lose a few, but I'm hoping they're going to live, and it'll be curious to see. I'm not going to take them out in the winter, but here's how they looked as they grew through the season, and this is probably August or September, and they were looking pretty, getting bigger and eating well, and I think I only lost a couple. I think I have 23 left in the pond going into winter, so all was good, and everything seemed to be doing well. And then the big challenge was, did these fish survive the Utah's record-setting winter? And it started out cold, and we had some really interesting kind of ice features from the bubblers. It was kind of fun to see. They're just little hollow tubes, and I'd never seen anything like that before. But I'm looking at the color of the water, and again, I can't see the fish. It doesn't look too clean. It doesn't look too good, so I don't know if how the fish are doing. The pond is not super deep. It's probably 2.5 feet at the deepest point, so I don't know if it's deep enough. But I hear goldfish just kind of go dormant. They don't eat during the winter. Now, the chickens like this water source. After I let the chickens free range most of the winter, they like to be out here, and anytime it was thawed enough to drink, they were drinking. But as you see, there's a little orange in there, and there were two fish that one had clear eyes and the other one had white eyes. And so I'm pretty sure the white-eyed fish was dead, so I got removed that, but I left the other one in because I think it was just dormant. It just probably got caught up in the ice, and it just was sitting there. So it looked still looked good. The color was good, and the eyes were clear. So this is April 9th, and here we go. The wife tells me she sees movement in the pond, and look what's moving around. These fish have not been moving much, very little. And I knew they had lived through the winter. I'd seen them, for the last month or so, but they had not fed. They had not moved around. got to be about 65 degrees today, and guess what? These fish came out of dormancy, and they look like little torpedoes. They haven't eaten for months and months, I don't believe, unless they've been eating something in the pond. I've not fed them. But they look like little torpedoes, and they're looking healthy, and they're still not. I threw some food in there, some pellet food, and they weren't too excited about it. But they're darting around a little bit, but most of the time they're still kind of groggy, and I think they're coming out of their dormancy. But they lived. So I think out of this whole 25, I may have 20 left. I'm not sure. I've got to count them. But it's clear with the algae growth going on in the pond, I've got to clean it. And there's my fish fertilizer to start the gardening season. So, well, the fish survived this tough winter, and that answers the question. Can goldfish live in a pond with no filtration, just bubblers all winter? Yes, they can. Well, thanks for watching this video, and check out my other videos. I've got a pretty good library, almost 200 videos now. And if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button, like, share, and comment, as I'd love to hear from you. Got lots coming up here. Spring's here, and so the videos will be coming. Thanks.